Popcorn therapy. 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 Popcorn therapy.
Welcome to Popcorn Therapy. I'm James Pillion.
And I'm Kane Senis.
And this is episode 15, baby. 15.
Holy shit, are we at 15 already?
Dude, we're just rolling along, man. We're steamrolling.
Wow. So what was, right, okay, shit. We're going to be at 500 before we know it.
Yeah.
God willing.
But we just got off the phone live from the northern beaches of Sydney, Australia. Claudia Pickering.
Yeah. You know, I'm really glad that we got this chat in the books because Claudia, as you're going to hear, she is just like, she's a breath of life. She is.
She's a firecracker.
She's a firecracker. She's got so much energy, and she's so smart and she's so funny, and she's one of my, I would say, one of the oldest filmmaker friends that I've got because we met when we were both at film school at the New York Film Academy in Los Angeles, and I was there doing directing, and she was doing an acting course. So she started out as an actor. Fast forward a few years later, and she shot a $5,000 feature film in San Francisco called Frisky, which you can find, which you can. It's getting a little frisky in here. It feels like. Did you ever see Tiny Furniture, Lena Dunham's first feature?
No.
Kind of like pre-Girls. It sits in that space. It's an autobiographical film about an Aussie over there in the States. But we won't talk too much about that now because she goes into depth on that, which was great. But she kind of went from that to just kind of that was like her entrance into the industry. She had done some other stuff as a writer and as an actress, but as a writer director, that was kind of her debut. And she's gone on to work in web series. She's developing a couple shows with Screen Australia and Create New South Wales, and she's writing the next feature. So there's going to be a lot more from her in the years to come. And I was just glad the three of us could hang out.
No, man, it's so funny, and as I sort of share on our chat to come, I came across the world of Claudia Pickering in 2017, watching at a screening of her debut film Frisky, and I just remember being bowled over, more than just the budget of, I mean, how you make anything on $5,000 is remarkable. But a feature, like, I think what really touched me is that, yes, it was a bare bones production. It was, very mumblecore inspired, but it had heart. It had a story. It had characters that I could relate to, that I could understand. And I was just like, this is someone I want to know. And I can't wait to get my eyes on what's to come.
Yeah, and what I kind of wanted to say to her, but I didn't think of it at the time, is like, it's not just that she made a film for $5,000, because sure, you can go ask everyone just to not get paid, and it's ultimately it's ultimately a bigger budget than that if you pay everything.
Yep.
It's the fact that she was able to get everyone to consent to do it that way. Like, that takes a certain personality type. That's producing and directing, and she's just able to corral an army around her because of her personality and her just her, I forget what she says, like her joie de vivre, her like way of being.
Right, yes.
But that's my takeaway. It goes beyond just the work, which obviously is important, but she's just something else as a human being, and she occupies that very kind of unique place in my life where I don't know anyone quite like her.
No, me either.
Right, so great things to come from another Sydney-based director.
Yeah.
Right now, I think this chat with Claudia should be enough to satiate your appetites and hopefully give you some good food for thought until our next outing.
Yeah. So have a great time listening, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
it's just for me. I just can't. I've learned to not put all my eggs in one basket. So as long as you've got lots of projects going, one of them's gonna get released, and you've just got to, that it's like doing renovations on this damn house. It's like everything is going to take longer than you think, and so as long as you've got a bunch of plates spinning all the time in various stages of development, and you've always got some cool shit that you're really excited about in development, some stuff that's just been shot or you're in pre-pro for, and then some stuff in post or that's, going around the festival stuff that's about to come out, then you've always got something to be able to like wake up in the morning and go, okay, well,
yes,
I've done my head in on this other one for too long, and now I'll do a bit of this and let that one just like simmer for a while in the back of my head.
Yeah.
That's how I stay sane.
But it's funny because I returned home in 2017 after making my first movie, and I was in a bit of a funk.
Bit of drama.
Yeah, a whole lot of drama. But what I was really looking for, and one thing I was kind of concerned about is, are there people like me? Are there people that are just hungry to make it? And when I fucking came across your movie and I came to one of the screenings, I was just like, this is a kindred spirit. This is someone that I understand. I don't fucking know you, but I know you. Someone that's like, I have a story. I have something I want to tell. I'll fucking figure it out. Hey, that baker down the road, let's go to his like bakery and we'll shoot something and we'll buy some bread and that's it. And we move on. And you don't fucking wait a year to see, oh, I wonder if I ask it properly, I'll get permission. No, you just go and you do it and it's done.
It's that permission asking thing. The only thing is, it's like for a bigger budget, you do have to go through that bullshit hoop jumping stuff. But then I find myself, because that's how you get the money, I guess. But then I find myself having to always have projects going that I know I don't have to rely on the system for, like this short we shot last year. And the web series, actually, the two things that I shot last year while I was heavily pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were directing and acting in this thing that was very, what's the word? Ambitious in terms of scale. There's like camels and shit. And there's like murders and burning boats.
I remember when you sent it to me, I was just like, I have full faith in you, but I wouldn't even know how to pull this off.
I forgot we sent it to you for editing. It was like we actually ended up having Julian De Benedictis, who edited Frisky, edit that.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Which was great.
Good.
So it was great to reconnect with him. But we that's all of that stuff. It's all and what's it called? Paramedics that we shot last year as well. Like that's stuff that it's a group of mates who are all capable filmmakers, and we know that we can get it done, and we can, pay each other enough to make sure that we're eating and we're paying our rent and shit, and just get it done, and it will get done. Instead of that's the thing, that you come into those projects, those low budget projects, and you can bring that promise where you're like, this is going to get done soon, because there's not enough money for us to faff around. That I guess is the enticing thing for other people to jump on board, and like for people to bring their mates and go, no, these guys are going to get it done because they've gotten other shit done in the past, and we know that they do it.
So it's how you stay sane. It's giving yourself a project that you can deliver, so you can keep on with those bigger budget.
Because those bigger budgets, they're such the scale, like the time scale on them is absurd. Like I've been writing butter paper since end of 2015, and like I'm still on drafts on that thing. Like it's a feature, and I'm just like. Pfft.
And how do you feel about like how like the industry has changed, like this idea of just making a dramatic feature, while obviously they will always keep going, and especially because I know of with your script, it's personal, right? So there's always going to be an authenticity that comes out of that attracts people. It's not like you're still trying to make something, that maybe isn't speaking to you, but you're trying to do it because you want to make a film like those people. All that stuff now is on TV. It's kind of like if you're going to make a feature, especially a dramatic feature, that's not kind of necessarily, I don't know, a schlocky horror or a comedy or something that kind of has like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a kind of marketing pitch attached to it, you know? It's really hard to get these things up, but like I constantly find myself saying, well, I don't know, like, should that idea be a series these days? And then I just go, but I love going to the cinema. I love watching feature films. That ultimately is still my number one. Like, write the thing that you want to see, right? Make the film that you want to see. And do you ever let this kind of current change in climate kind of get to you? Like,
all the time.
Like question what you're doing? Yeah.
Oh, and especially like they're the conversations I have with my agent as well. It's like, there's always that thing where it's like, well, no one's making features, so can you turn it into a show? Like, what you gonna do?
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, I can. I'm sure I can.
But
I'd be lying if I said that I haven't thought about turning Butter Paper into a show.
Really? Right. Yeah.
But I like that. It would have to be, and obviously now there's some very, very cinematic looking shows, but like ideally it's a movie. That's what I want it to be. But I guess if someone's going to chuck me the money to put it onto a small screen, it's going to be a very difficult conversation for me to say no.
You were saying earlier that you're working on turning, is it Cheetah Airlines into a show?
Cheetah Airways, yeah.
So
What's
what is?
Cheetah Airlines?
Yeah, what is? That's a web series, isn't it? Or
so we shot like 3 sketches. Sean Martindale's in it.
oh
Sean's in it. Of course he is. He's in everything I do. We shot that. It was like 3 sketches. One of them was like someone trying to check in. One of them was the boardroom, and one of them was like, it was like a commercial for it, of a sketchy budget airline called Cheetah Airways. That's just
Cheetah
like
Airways,
they're constantly trying to fist you on fees and like all of that shit, and like taking all your clothes off and trying to stuff them into a tiny bag to fit it, you know, all the things.
Oh, we didn't tell you about the hidden baggage fee? Oh, yeah. It's going to be another $100.
Yeah, all of that shit. And there's like, you know, they're cutting off a lock of hair to make, oh no, it has to be exact. So you carry-on luggage has got to be 11 kilos. And they're like, oh, but it's 10.8. And they're like, no, it's got to be exactly 11 kilos.
Yeah.
Like, all that kind of shit.
It can't even be lighter. It has to be,
it must be
the weight
11
limit.
kilos. There's just bullshit like that. So that show, like the sketch was very, very silly. And we got into a couple of little like online festivals and things like that. Like the Australians in Film did a upload festival or something. And, it did a couple of things like that. But yeah, the concept, like the idea behind it was just so much fun. And some of the characters that came out of just like kind of playing in the sandbox of that sketch environment, that like we just love those characters so much that we started sort of putting together a Bible for a show, and then hit up Screen Oz and we got Generate development funding for it. And
wow, well done.
Yeah, and just wrote 6 eps late last year, early this year. And we had Connor Van Buren involved doing the script editing, and it was sick. It's funny, and like the last I'm not going to give away too much. It starts off, the beginning of it is this airline that's like shat the bed, like, and they've got this new sketchy CEO that's come in that's trying to pivot this full service airline into a budget airline. They're like, no, we're budget now. Like this is how we're going to save the airline. And like every episode is like, the knock-on effect of just the garbage ideas that they're coming up with to try and save a buck. It now, like post-corona, we're actually watching airlines go down, and they're going to have to reinvent themselves. So it's actually a really good time to be making the show.
Amazing.
So we're talking about potentially turning it into an animation to combat, well, the scale of it, because shooting a show that's around airports and airlines, it's an expensive thing to do. Mm-hmm. And B, I think it really lends itself to animation really well.
And you don't need a bunch of people in one room. On shoot.
There's just a lot of reasons. Like before all this Corona stuff, I was watching the final season of Bojack Horseman, and I was just I think Cheetah has to be an animation. Like, and I'm like hitting the others up that I was writing with, just being like, guys, please just listen, just hear me out. And I think,
but to be fair, I think even if I had like the next Godfather under my belt, I'd be watching Bojack Horseman, being like, it just has to be like this.
It has to be an animation.
Bojack Horseman is just everything.
It's good.
It's better than any movie anyway.
The best.
The greatest.
It's so dark too, isn't it? It really it's hard to just pitch as a comedy, although it is.
I mean,
it gets to you.
I think it started as a comedy, and then like because Nick never watched it with me.
Oh.
And then
Oh,
because
no
I
way.
was like, I don't know, I was like binging it at some point, and he missed the first couple of seasons, and then came in the last couple of seasons and was always like, it's really sad. Like, this
Yeah.
is
Super sad.
it's so sad. And he's like, I don't understand. It's not a comedy. I'm like, no, it is. There's like cheeky animal gags in the background and like all of this stuff.
And he's like, but that's just to stop me from killing myself.
It's so depressing.
And also, obviously, as a filmmaker, do you just relate to it on that level too? Of like, is there a kind of I don't know, like a scary, not just the whole kind of, you know, Me Too element to his character, but I mean just the sense of like, oh shit, man, it's like you've dedicated your whole life to this craft or to this art or however you want to think of it, and you know, then to either just be turned on by other people or just to kind of realize, oh, my whole life was just, well, he's a bit different to already the life that you're starting to build because he's
He's an
alone,
addict.
you know what I mean? He's alone and an addict. But why do I still relate to it when A, I'm not alone, and B, I'm not an addict? It's something sad about this like deep fear I have that one day I'll wake up and be like his age and just be alone and miserable because it's like I've just dedicated my life to this film thing and it's almost like not normal.
And
like,
it's also like it's the idea of dedicating, of being really concerned about, because you're constantly making stuff for other people to like.
yes, so it's this validation thing that's
Yeah, the
dangerous.
validation.
Yeah, it's like,
comparison
please
anxiety.
enjoy this thing that I'm putting myself out there with.
Yeah.
You know.
Please value me for this character I am on the screen, or you know, these works that I make, and not even get to know who I am as a person.
Man, I'll tell you what. Every filmmaker, while you're in quarantine, go ahead and get pregnant because it really gives you some perspective and makes you go, oh shit, I don't actually, you know, this is what matters. And then all of the art stuff that I'm making, I can care about.
Right.
I can care about in like a way healthier way.
Oh, that's so good.
So I actually wanted to ask you this because I obviously don't have any kids, but a friend of mine has had a couple kids, and he just said it's night and day. He was like, it's literally like the night before the baby comes, and like the baby comes out, and suddenly it's like you're reflecting that night, and it's like all of these feelings you had about yourself and about the world revolving around you suddenly kind of go away.
Yeah, it's
And
really
I'm
nice.
Wow.
What is that? What is that actually like?
You've
it like a weight off
articulated
your
it.
shoulder?
You've articulated it perfectly. It's you're just like, yeah, you kind of like, I am not the center of my universe anymore, and like there's like your sphere just gets bigger, and you're like, all of this other stuff and all of these other interesting things. It's very, very, but there's so much obviously there's so much psychological shit that goes on when you give birth to a child and you like just go Super Saiyan freaking Goku and like go next level shit and like push a baby out and you go, I didn't know I was capable of you just got to go Kane, I will sit you down. I'll talk you right through it sometime.
Look, well, it sounds okay. So this is going to sound like a bad reason to have a kid, and I wouldn't have a kid just for this reason.
Oh God!
But you know, there's this part of me that's like, don't I want to know at some point what it's like to just, I don't know, like what I'm saying, like not think that everything just revolves around your circle. And that's not even to say that somebody is, you know, narcissistic or up their own ass. It's just a natural thing that we exist.
You're taking care of yourself. You know, you're used to taking care of yourself.
Preservation. Yeah, it's self-preservation or whatever.
But and then
you know,
you've got to take care of someone else's life, like massively. And then you're like, oh, what do you like? And what's interesting for you? And what's the best for you? And what's, you know, you.
Well, Claude, it's funny. So I just wanted to rewind, you know, before having the baby, before even making your first film, what was it that made you want to get behind the camera? Because you were acting before this, right?
Yeah.
So what was it that tell me about that sort of trajectory. And actually, no, the other thing that really blew my mind when I discovered, because I, you know, was reading up about Frisky after seeing it, like, what? Like, this is amazing. And then discovering that you were you are an architect, and that's what you had originally gone to the States for?
Technically not an architect because I never got registered. I just did my master's. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not allowed to call myself an architect because I am not one. I am
You're
an
architecturally
architectural
inspired.
designer.
You
Right, there you
finished.
go.
I'm
you
a
did
master
finish-
of architecture,
You're a master of all things, but you
but
can't call
I'm
yourself
no
that.
architect. That's correct.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, so very particular. But oh man, it's like so many things, isn't it? Because it's like you go. I've always made stuff,
Okay.
like physically crafted stuff. It's like, oh my god, there's so many things I want to say right now.
Well, you paint and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
too,
with the
so it's just
painting stuff, for example, like when I moved up to San Francisco, I started doing tons of collage and painting and all of this really weird, like artsy stuff while I
Which
was
was
looking
when-
for an architecture job.
By the way, when did you move to the States?
I moved to LA at the end of 2011,
2011.
and then moved to San Francisco in 2013 after we'd shot Winning Formula, which is a feature that we shot well before Frisky, 2
That's
years before
right.
Frisky. But I just wrote and produced that.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
I didn't direct it,
Okay.
but I was in it. And yeah, that got distributed and stuff. It came out it came out within 2 weeks of Frisky, but was made 2 years.
What the
No,
fuck?
it's just whole things.
Yep.
I was acting all the way through school, and then when I realized I wanted to be an actor, to actually like go into it and like study it and like start getting in films and things like that. At the beginning of my master's, I was like doing first year architectural masters and sneaking across to NIDA to do stuff and doing like student shorts and stuff like that. And then like lying to my architectural peers and my mom and stuff about what I was actually doing.
Wow.
Like it was full on like like covert operation.
This double life.
And then when I went to the States at the end of that year after what happened was my granddad died right in front of me and I couldn't resuscitate him, and it was a really fucked up like thing that happened. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. And within a week of that happening, because it was like the first time something truly actually some earlier stuff had happened like in that year where I was like, ugh. Just this collection of bullshit was happening that year, just simmering away while I was doing all this sneaky acting. And then I was offered a scholarship to go over to the States just for to do acting thing. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going. And 2 weeks later, I was on a plane going over, and that's when I met Anna Bennett, who I started, like, we were in an acting thing together, and then we immediately started writing together. Like, and we weren't considering it. We were actors, but we were like, but let's write this thing. And that's when I met Kane. Was when I'd met Anna.
Whoa.
At NIFA.
Yeah, she's a freaking legend.
I had a great time with you guys back then. We would hang out. My first impression of you was like, who is that larger than life, just like radiating kind of light in this cruddy school hallway.
They were also my fluoro leggings. Everything was like clashing.
I'm just like, this chick's something else. And then Anna was cool too, and the two of you had this real cool kind of I don't know. It was like we knew you as this duo. You know what I mean?
We were a duo. We were like instantly inseparable. Like we met. I turned around and looked at her on like what's it called? Orientation day. I turned around and I was like, "You're wearing what I wore yesterday," and she's like, "You're wearing what I wore yesterday." And we're like, let's go down and get a club sandwich. And she's like, I need to buy a bed. And within an hour of us meeting, we were in IKEA trying beds together. Like, homies.
That's amazing. Wow.
So, yeah, she's who I started writing with, and how it all sort of started. That's what really started all of that stuff. And when you're doing a degree like architecture, you feel like you can, like, anything's possible. You just go, this is the problem. This is the brief. I need to make a thing. Okay, I can make it. If I can make a building, I can make a film. I can make a whatever.
Fuck.
I can make a shit building. I can make a shit film.
You still make it.
You can still make it. Yeah. You know, you've just got to learn how to, and then you like hone it.
Does you just being such a a positive light and just a personality. I don't even know how to describe it. It's
Thanks,
like
man.
it's like if I was some, exec or whatever, which I'm not, but if you walked into my room, regardless if you were right for the job or not, I would be like, remembering that person.
Maybe.
Remembering that person. Can we make it work somehow? No, but what is it like? I mean, is it something that you and this is maybe kind of delving a little more in like the therapy side of things, but is that just supernatural to you? Like, I know it's just who you are, but is there are there affirmations that you tell yourself every day? Do you how do you maintain that level of?
I go into the mirror and I look in the mirror and I go, "You're not shit. You're not shit." No, I don't say that.
But if you did, I'd be like, that's a super important thing that I should probably start doing.
No, I just freaking surround myself with people that I love and care about.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like with every project I'm involved with, if I'm working with people who I just fucking love working with, I could be working on anything. Like it wouldn't be, you'd be doing literally anything as long as you're with people you care about and you enjoy the company of, and you'll make something good. And if it's shit, you'll be like, well, we've got each other.
So that is directly related to relationships with other people. It's bouncing off people. It's soaking up their energy. But like, if you're in a room with like a bunch of dickheads, how do you still you still able to maintain who you are, or do you suddenly start to go, man, I'm like bummed out?
I can shut down. There's definitely been a couple of situations like in writers' rooms.
Ooh,
where more senior writers have like absolutely not let me get a word in edgeways, like to be like, oh, well, what if it's this, literally haven't spoken all day because they won't let me, or they're like, no talking from the young writer. And that fucking devastated me. Like I was in a week-long writers' room, and after the first day of that room, I fucking cried, man. Like I went home and wept because I was like, I'm so used to being around people who treat each other with respect.
Yeah.
That when that doesn't exist, it's like, it boggles my mind that people could be like that with other human beings. Yeah. It is just all about respect. And it doesn't matter like how experienced someone is. I try to always treat other people with respect, because it's like, I can't blame you for being inexperienced as long as you're trying.
Yeah.
Trying, like, and you're doing your best, like, you'll be, like, I don't know who you're going to become, and I don't know your capacity for this. And as long as you're giving it a red hot crack, like, freaking good on ya.
Well, and it's funny, Claudia, because I felt that watching Frisky, and it felt like you just sort of gave people permission to try. I mean, and I'm sure like it was a really, I can only imagine how, like, just the chaos of making that movie, just, getting everything together and you're acting and directing yourself. And I mean, fuck, I can't even imagine.
Well, it's just like, and there are people out there who, and I'm actually, after keep bringing architecture into it, but all that training, you get really good at taking criticism, and you're like, okay. And it's not so much criticism. It's like, I feel like the word criticism is sort of the wrong, it always has like a negative connotation when people talk about it. But I'm like, criticism is actually like, it generally is constructive, and it's like, it should be about like, okay, these are the current flaws in it that we need to solve. These are the current problems that need to be solved, and that's all it should be. But then there are some people who are maybe not so good at giving criticism.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
And it's like they're kind of relishing that it's
it's personal.
That they might be able to make you fail or something.
The criticism is not specifically actually about the thing they're pointing out. Like, they care about you improving that thing. It's coming from a personal place.
Yeah.
It's like ego or bitterness or whatever.
It was so funny. Like in the earliest sort of episodes, I was sort of just telling Kane a bit about making my film in Romania, and I'd just never been introduced to a culture that came from a place of just kind of looking down on anything that isn't Romanian. And so they were just like, what's your shit? Like, if you'd gone to Romanian film school, maybe you would make a good movie. I'm like, we're paying this person to tell me that. It's like, I didn't ask for that feedback, but
Yeah.
and
It's like, have
that
you heard
really
about
made me grow up.
Have you heard about subjectivity, buddy? Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
that's just your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Not helpful. Yeah, I don't know. So you can get surrounded by people like that. I actually got completely oh man, there was a situation, like generally things are great because you work with people, you go back and you work with the people who you know that you have that like magic with, and you're just like, I fucking love hanging out with you. When we talk, like ideas just come because it's like this flow between us, and you know who those people are, and when you meet them you're like, you're one of those people that I'm going to be able to make shit with.
Wow.
Because it's going to be it's that, to use an extremely corporate expression, synergy.
Synergy. I
It's
knew you were gonna say
synergy.
that. Yeah.
I'm just going to open a can of synergy.
Ooh, so synergenic.
Oh god, there's so much synergy. So
Good for the pores.
that, and but oh man, like I got up. I was asked.
Uh-oh.
This was so bad. I was asked to get up on stage by Screen Oz to like pitch it was like really last minute that I was asked to like pitch the Frisky TV show to this, in like this forum where people were like dialing in from all over the country, and there was like 300 people or something in the audience. It was like in front of me. Anyway, I totally I was following this format that I was sent that I thought was what I was supposed to do for it. Like just a lot of miscommunication went on and I got the wrong thing, and I'm like following this thing and it was way longer than it was supposed to be, and it was an absolute shit show.
Oh no.
And like to the point that they ended up cutting the feed
Oh.
for the people that have dialed in because it was like after hours, and they were like, you haven't finished fucking pitching this thing. Get her off, like cut her off. And then I had to sit there and get critiqued. And I'm sitting there, I've got like cracking PMS. I've just like totally like just like the format of the pitch that I'd done, I'd like talking about all of these like wounds,
Oh,
like
no.
emotional wounds, like started off with that because that's what I was supposed to do. And I was like, I've just like opened up all of this stuff. And as an actor, when you go there, it takes a little second to come back and like to go, okay, I unpacked some really personal shit just now, and I'm going to be emotional in front of people. And I'm there just like copying this script from this woman who I'd like watched in a lecture a year earlier and gone, not a huge fan, but respect what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to take this fucking crit in front of like 300 people in the live audience and everyone else.
What?
And I'm like, oh! And I got off that stage, and I just, and I'm not a huge crier, I'm not. But I got off the stage and I had this like instant cracking migraine just because of all of this like emotional shit I'd just done at the top of it, where I was like, and my mum's sick and I've got this and that and I'm dealing with grief and and anyway, I get off the stage and there's just a bunch of mates still standing there in the audience, and they just walked up to me because everyone else is filing out of this auditorium. And these mates, people who I'd not had terribly much to do, like some people who were like genuinely like I'd had quite a bit to do with, but other people who were just like, mates who I'd had maybe a drink or two with. And they just came up to me and they just fucking hugged me, man. And they just gave me like this huge hug, and they were like, that was really brave, dude. And I'm like, brave. I was brave to talk about my feelings in front of people. But like, I'm like, this here, not the crit from the person from America who's the big swinging dick, but like this here is this is why I do this. These people are making me feel something that makes me feel like the world is not a dark place, and like it's all beautiful, and we're in this together, and all we have is each other.
Do you almost feel like the therapeutic value of making things is the making part? It's making it with people you love? Is that where you get your sense of kicks?
Oh, dude, 100%. Like writing stuff on your own cooks your noodle completely. Like I think that's why Butter Paper's been taking so long. It's because it's a lonely thing. Like I'm not writing it with other people, and it's really personal, and but it's just the process of it is nowhere near as joyous as writing all the others, like writing Cheetah, writing Wanderbust with M, like just sitting there just laughing our heads off, like it's like I feel you don't feel like you're going to work that day and you've worked 14 hours just writing,
Mhm.
but you've just been like just making crass gags all day.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's hard. You've got to. It's like a relationship. It's not the easiest thing to find that person because it's such a personal thing to write and to
Totally.
like you said before, to be able to hear criticism from that person.
Yeah.
Right.
And
You
there's
can't
always
just be-
those little moments, isn't there, where you're like,
yeah, like,
I really
you're like,
care about this idea and I think it's a good one and I think you're fucking wrong.
is it? Does it smell in here, or is that a stank face because of what I just said? Let's move on. I've never written with someone where it's like an organized thing, where it's like you hear these things all the time in Hollywood where they're like, hey, we've never met, but I really like your work. Do you want to write on something together? And they're like, yeah. And then they just go write together. And I don't know. It's like, it seems to me that I would need to like have a rapport established or something.
Yeah, you got to do those like full on like director techniques where you do those like acting activities where it's like, let's put our hands on each other's knees and go,
yeah.
Who's closer to their mother?
Yeah. That's a professionalism which I think I don't think I possess it. Like I don't think I possess the ability to be like, this is a job and we need to and you don't always go have beers with the guy that you work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you kind of have to with writing because you go somewhere so personal. Like certainly
that's the difference.
When we were doing the writers' room at Jungle for Frisky, we were like, it was the first time I'd been in a professional writers' room, and I was like, oh, look how like everyone's just spilling their guts, like their real personal shit. I don't know any of these people like properly, and everyone was just so generous emotionally in that room because the show is such a it's such a like a personal investigation of grief, really. But like, man, were these people, and as soon as people start sharing like that, you feel like you know them real well, real quick.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say, because I'm ranting and talking about myself like a massive
no, that's
head case.
what we want. That's what we want. Yeah, keep ranting.
Is because last year we were writing Wanderbust. We got Create New South Wales funding to do this feature, Wanderbust. It's a comedy. And that we then made a proof of concept short for in the middle of the year when I was extremely pregnant. It was like I was going through a pregnancy, and Emma and I got really sort of tight friendship-wise towards the end of the year before, and then like started writing this feature together off the back of like a bunch of crazy life bullshit that we'd discovered about each other. And then I was going through this pregnancy and like slowly growing bigger and bigger. And she was just there every day. And we're working on this feature script. And like, she's the person that I'm talking to about all this weird stuff, weird personal stuff that's going on with my body and like the psychology that comes along with like carrying a baby and like your fears and your excitement and all of that stuff. And it's so, it sort of really heightened the way we could write together. It was like a fast track of us having like this shorthand because we just got to know each other and got so close and personal and nothing sort of out of bounds to talk about anymore. Yeah.
That's very special.
Yeah, it was really special. I mean, shit, we were doing a crit session with with Connor, sorry. Christian, that's his brother. I'm so sorry, Connor. So we'd sent some scripts through to him for Cheetah, and we were doing like the last lot of notes from him before I was going to go and have the baby. And like I was lying on my bed. I was like lying on the bed on a Zoom chat like this with my stomach next to me and like doing like this. It was like a 2-hour, maybe 2.5-hour call. Get like taking notes and like figuring out what the next steps were for the Cheetah scripts, and like I freaking went into labor like 3 hours later, and I was like having a baby. And I'm like, life really like just so like because I got off that call at 3:00, then we went out for dinner. because it was Nick's birthday, like a couple of days later.
Wow.
And like it was like a whole group of mates went out for dinner in Manly, and like I made sure Nick brought the bags just in case because I wasn't due for another week. And then got home, got in the shower, water broke, life completely fucking changed. So yeah, you know, I was working right up until the last minute with people that are really, really they were really there for the whole process.
That's very. Oh, I love that. Can I just ask just a final thing, because I just wanted to know about it, and I think our listeners will too. You know, because speaking of good people, you know, of working with good people, I just wanted to know if you could share a little more, like some stories of coming up with the idea for Frisky and then making it a reality.
The thing about it was like there's so much stuff that's actually come out of that film that I'm learning in retrospect. So.
And that's what I want to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my learning journey. I'll tell you about it. So like I said, when I went over to the States and I met Anna, it was like in the wake of like quite a traumatic death in the family. And also like there was a whole bunch of my mum being sick with leukemia, and that's actually something that Anna and I bonded massively on. Her dad was really really unwell. And he's since passed away. And we really bonded on a lot of stuff, and we were acting out like little bastards. Like we were like what Kane was saying, like we were a lot. And there was a lot of that going on. And I've had a few like close creative relationships that have all and not creative, like close friendships, and that's really what Frisky was. It was like an ode to all of the like bunch of different like creative and close friendships chucked into like little vignettes that all turn into a story essentially in the film. And I was like, I wanted to tell a story that was not this larger than life ridiculous thing that Winning Formula was, that it was something much more like personal and indie. And it actually came from me trying to find music for Winning Formula and finding all of this indie music that I was like, this is the film I want to make. So yeah, went ahead and started making that. And this comes back to what we were talking about before, where it was like, oh, you have a baby and you realize that you're not the center of the universe anymore. That like, I'm looking at Frisky and I'm like every year that passed that I got further away from Frisky, I was like, man, this thing is so self-indulgent.
But that's what you have to do.
Look at me feeling things, and like none of this shit matters on a grand scale, on the grand scale of things. But whatever, like all of your little your world is the size of your world, and the problems that are happening to you are relative to whatever.
Well, all three of us have made films that are basically our lives,
relationship shit, right?
And also it's like it's literally the only thing you can tell or put on screen that you know for a matter of fact no one else is going to do or is doing. Like it might fall into a category that's similar to other films, but it's a unique story to you, and so you can't go wrong. Like
totally.
If you know, like I've got this friend who's just like, oh man, everything on TV today is just white privilege problems, and I'm just like, yeah, but like there's a lot of white privileged people out there, like me included, and I need to watch something. I need to watch something that I can relate to, you know, like I don't always feel like watching like a social issue thing. But as the creator, all you can really do, honestly, is just at least when you're starting, I think, is just to put out what you know.
Is write something that's authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
So the film itself, when I was making it, I didn't stop and think about why Anna and I, like why we were acting out. And it took a few years to then, like when we started doing the writers' rooms for like to turn it into a show, where I was like, oh, it was actually a really, really grief-filled time. And we had each other and we were like, and you don't see any of that in the film because I hadn't processed that that's what was going on yet. Like I hadn't actually gone, actually, this is what's behind all of this. It took a couple of years later where I was like, oh, fuck, that's why we were behaving like that. And that actually gives the whole idea of what we were doing a little bit more backbone and makes it all feel a little bit less like just react like just silly buggers going on.
Mhm. But I felt like a sadness behind the laughter. I've never been someone that just sees. I'm always, I guess it's what we also do. But I was like, there's more to this than just like the
Yeah, I
slapstick.
think the fun is that it is like a sort of like it's like a throwaway thing, and like you're shutting like it is actually true to where my head was at the time, because I was shutting out the true emotions and just going, cool, I'm just like just doing all this fun, outrageous shit and reinventing myself.
Yep.
Yep.
But I just think that's so honest. Most people aren't looking at their feelings and saying, what am I feeling right now? Most people are just acting out. They cheat on their wives, or they hit their wives, or whatever. Like, they do awful things because they're not willing to accept their problems.
It took a while to realize they were it was there. But I guess because I was still like, it was like from that point when I met Anna, I was like looking at all the stuff that had happened in the past, and like my relationship, like my boyfriend, the whole thing was falling apart, and like all of those things, and like obviously all the grief and all of that stuff. Yeah, it took having made Frisky and then going back and unpicking what Frisky was to then try and find what a show could be that had to have some sort of actual narrative engine, that then meant that I sort of went, oh damn, that relationship was really significant in being like my therapy, my popcorn therapy, guys.
There you go. Enjoy the rest of your lockdown.
Yeah, fully.
Thanks again for doing this, Claudia. It means a lot to us.
Pleasure and an honor, guys.